Hello there again, everyone, and welcome back to Sci-Fi Model Action. Boyd here with you again. Well, today we're continuing on with our Battlestar Galactica theme here at the channel. As you can see, I've got this nice little Revell kit. This is the Cylon Raider 30th Anniversary version. This is a re-release from the original Monogram series, and they've actually gone back to this kit and made a few little improvements on it to make it more accurate to the studio model. They've done some improvements at the engine parts here at the back, at the exhaust area, the baffles there, and then they've got a little few bits and pieces around the model to make it more accurate that have been improved. And if you guys remember, during my Battlestar Galactica video build series, I mentioned this kit a little bit and did a little out-of-the-box review, and I showed you that I bought this little separate cockpit made of resin for this model, which includes 3 small Cylon Centurian figures, and we're going to add those into this kit today and do a little bit of lighting on that. So what I'm going to be working on the bench today is getting that cockpit ready. We're going to be getting the little control panels cut out for lighting, and I'm going to be putting some small little screens in there and things like that, and making sure that it's going to fit in here. Hopefully by the end of this video today we'll have the cockpit looking pretty good and the figures all painted and installed and everything and looking nice. So that's going to be a lot of fun. This is a great little kit. Like I said, it's been out there a while, and it's actually one of the more accurate kits from the original Monogram line, and looks pretty darn close to the original studio model, so I'm pretty happy about that. This is going to be an exciting build. I'm pumped up and ready to go, and let's head over to the bench and get this thing rolling. I'll see you there. Okay, everybody, well, we're back on the bench here now, and you can see I've gotten started on this a little bit. What I've done here is I've gone in and placed this little cockpit here, and there's a convenient little ledge that's right on the inside of this, and you can see by lining everything up that this is exactly where this cockpit needs to go. So what I've done now is I've marked this, and this little part of the material here we have to remove for this cockpit to fit in here. We want to stay just inside of these lines here, so it's going to leave a nice little ledge for the cockpit to sit on and to be able to glue it on there. And then that's going to give us a nice little detail. You can see it from above here. Let me get it sitting in here properly. Once this is cut out, you're going to be able to see the entire cockpit in there. And what we'll probably wind up doing after that is coming back and building a little bulkhead there in the back out of some sheet styrene to be a blocker in there in the back to make it look like it has a wall there in the back. So let's get started drilling that out. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm using my little dremel stylus. I'm just going to take and drill a series of holes just inside of these lines here and kind of connect the dots like you've seen me do before. And I'll just go along and drill this until we pull it out, and then I'll come back with my file, and we'll start getting these all smoothed out and nice and straight. So let me start drilling these holes real quick. And I'm just going to stay just inside of this line. Like I said, I don't want to go outside of it. You can see this is going along pretty fast. These holes don't have to be perfect either, just space them apart at a fairly even distance so you can come back and cut through them pretty easily. Now you can see we've got a series of holes punched in here, and now what I'll do is take this same drill bit and come back and using a side-to-side motion, just kind of start off in the first hole and start pushing it, and it'll cut into the second and so on, like kind of connect the dot thing and go all the way around until we get this out. Let me clear the plastic off of this and we'll get started on that. I'm going to speed up my bit here just a little bit. You can see here now is we've got kind of a little rough edge. Our plastic is gone out of there now, and what I'm going to be doing is using this nice wide flat file, and I'm going to start taking the rest of this material out of here and come right up to the back side of this line here, and then where our cockpit's going to fit right in there real nice. So let me start working on that right now. Get the right angle on it. Horrible sounding, right? I've finished filing on this a little bit, and you can see I've got this held in with some tape. You can see the cockpit fits in there really nice, and what I did is I used this top piece here for reference to make sure we didn't go too far and we don't see any seams around the edges or anything like that, so that's fitting on there really good. And so what I'll do now is I'm going to go back and start drilling out the this resin. Let me pull this out of here real quick. The resin part of the front of the instrument panel here is pretty thick, so I'm going to take my Dremel bit and get my little burring tool in there, my little small grinding tip, and I'm going to start working my way through that and try to get these little screens kind of square looking as much as possible. And then we're going to start figuring out how we're going to get some lighting in there. Be right back with that. Hey guys, well, I'm back, and here we are. We've cut a nice little slot in here. Hold this up for you. We've cut a nice little slot in here in the instrument panel, and I've set this up on the back side here so that a nice little 3 bulb section of this LED tape will fit right in there, if you can see that. And what we're going to be doing here is we'll have a nice little red light that's going to come through there, and we're going to paint our little figures and put them in there, and that's going to look really cool. Now what I'm hoping I can do here is I want to kind of get the simulated look of the Cylon little red, you know, the little red light that they had there in on their visors, I guess if you want to call that. So I'm going to put a little bit of reflective tape on each one of these guys' helmets here after I finish painting them and put them in. And hopefully that red light's going to reflect on there and give you just a little bit of a red appearance on their faces or whatever, and maybe that'll light up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is take this over to the spray booth area here and paint this cockpit. I'm just going to paint this basically gray and then paint the seats black. And then we're going to start painting up our little figures and put those in there, and we'll see how that all starts looking. Be back with that in just a little bit. And let there be Cylons. I spent about an hour and a half here, and I had to grind these guys down a little bit to get them to fit in their chairs, and then I spray painted them with some bright gold that I mixed up. And I did a little bit of detail work here on the dashboard and around the gauges there. And what you can see, I just cut that entire section out with my Dremel and put a clear tinted red lens in there, just made out of clear plastic, and then sprayed it red. And then on the front side here, I've got a little 3 bulb strip of LED tape in red mounted in here that's going to light up and give that instrument panel the look of being lit. And I did a little detail paint work in the cockpit, not anything crazy. You're not going to be able to see much of it down there. You can only see about halfway down on the side, so I didn't worry about getting a little sloppy with my paint on the bottom and things like that. But I think they look pretty neat. Now let me turn the light on here for you, and you can see how that effect is going to look in there. And the red's reflecting on these guys really good, and it gives kind of a nice red glow coming off of the dash, like there's some kind of instrument running or something like that. And what I might also do is I might try to sneak a little red flashing bulb in here, maybe back behind the Centurion guy in the back, the commander. And I've seen they had, on a couple of their episodes, they had some kind of red flashing going in the background, like some instrument warning thing or something when they were under attack. So I've got just a regular flashing red LED in 5mm that I might mount in the back there somewhere and give it some animation inside the cockpit. But I think this looks pretty cool. Let me see if I can get it kind of tucked up inside the model here. This is going to get bumpy for a second, just to kind of give you an idea how it's going to look. Okay, well that's kind of in there kind of roughly, but once you get the canopy on there and the detail painted on that, and I think again with that little red flashing light there in the back, that's going to look pretty neat. And the red effect actually makes it look sort of almost like their little visors are lighting up. It's kind of what I hope for. So that's pretty cool. Okay, we're going to move on here and do a little bit more construction on this. I'll be back with a little update. We're going to start putting together some of the pieces on it and doing our light blocking and everything, getting this ready to be lit. Be right back with that in a bit. Here, and what I did is I worked on getting this little canopy cut out, and the way I did this is I just laid the original part right inside of it, and it fit perfectly, so you can tell that they vacuum formed that off of that original part, and then just cut it out roughly with some scissors and got close. And then I just took my Dremel tool with this sanding drum on it and just went around the edges until I got it really close to the edges all the way around on this part. You know, it fits so good in there that it's got a little trouble getting it out. Okay, and then I'm going to show you how it sits on front of the model here. And let me get it on there just right. it's a little flimsy, and I'll probably use some Canopy glue to hold this down. Something that won't attack the plastic, but it covers it up just perfect, and it's sitting there nice and flush and everything. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go in and start painting these little frames and leaving my clear parts in there. I'll use some black first to act like a light blocker, and then I'll coat the outside with the same color as the hull. And we'll be back to show you how that looks in just a little bit. Let me show you what I did on the, I've got the cockpit now mounted inside the part of the hull here, and some of these little detail pieces put on. Our little Cylon Centurion guys are looking really cool sitting in there. I really like how they turned out. And we've got our little dashboard there, and you can see all that really well. And here in the bottom, I've got these little blue LEDs mounted for the engine effect at the back there, and these little inserts get put in, and they're tinted blue as well. And also I've got a little piece of brass rod that I stuck in here, which another brass rod is going to slide into, and that's going to be allow the model to swivel a little bit on the stand. Now here at the front you can see these were just open ports. These is where the missile launchers are supposed to go, and so they were just open holes. So what I did is I took an old piece of a sprue, and I ground those down to be nice and rounded and kind of tapered, and then I painted them silver and put them in there, and I used these little brackets to mount them on there so they look like they're kind of suspended in the middle of the thing. And so that looks pretty neat. I really like that. That added a little bit of detail on there that it didn't have, so that's looking good. And I've got the canopy done, and this canopy was a real pain to work with. It was it's just such really thin plastic. I'll have to use some canopy glue to hold that down, but you can see that we've got a nice the frames are all painted on there, and you can still see through it fairly well, and you can just make out the guys in there. And then when it's lit up with the red effect in there, it'll, you're not going to be able to see them perfectly clear, but you'll definitely know that there's somebody in there. And it'd be cool if this thing could be made so you could lift it up somehow, and maybe I'll try to work on that or something. I don't know what I might do with that, but it would be neat to be able to do that, since I put a lot of work into painting those guys in there. But so anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect my wiring together here so that the cabin lighting is hooked up to the bottom lighting here, and I've got these wires coming out the bottom. Then I can glue the clamshell together here, and we'll come back and do that, and we'll turn on the lights and show you how the whole thing looks lit up all at once. We'll be back with that in just a little bit. This thing's coming along really well. Hey there everybody, well would you look at that. I've got this thing put together now, and I've got the lights turned on so you can see it, and there's the cockpit all installed in this thing, and I've got the clamshell glued together now and curing. I've got it all taped and to get my seams nice and tight, and you can see the nice red lighting coming through there on the cockpit, and you can see the little instrument panel in there with the guy. One of the guys actually looks like he's actually reaching in there and kind of doing something with that. And then we've got our nice blue lighting effect here at the rear. There's these nice little lenses that are going to go in there that are going to tone that down so you don't get that glare. And then there's some other little detail parts, a little elevator and rudder kind of assembly that go in there. And we've got these nice baffles that go on the top that kind of fill up these open ports here. I've done a little bit of weathering on these already. If you can see that, it's I've started to do a little bit of shading on that, and there'll be shading and nice weathering all over this model, and that's going to really bring it to life. The color on it looks kind of plain right now. These center sections here get tinted down kind of dark, and then I'll do some detailing around all these little doodads up here on the top. And here's the canopy. Canopy sits on there really good, and you can still see through that. Let me see if I can zoom in on a little bit more for you. You can still see through that really well, and you see the little guy sitting in there. I'd like to figure out a way where I could open that, maybe with some kind of a hinge or something, or maybe opening it forward. I'm not sure, but I'd like to be able to display that with maybe the canopy open, so you could see the guys in there a little bit better when I wanted to. But we'll see what I come up with on that. But you can still see them in there pretty good, even the way it is. Definitely better than the original one. So that turned out really well. I'm really happy with this whole thing. We're coming along really fast on it. Probably by tomorrow evening with a little bit of work I should have it just about done. Really all that's left is to do some detail painting, put the decals on it, and a few little small parts here and there. And then it's ready to be mounted on the stand already. So things are going along really fast on this one. Pretty happy with it. So I'll be back again tomorrow. I'm going to let this dry up overnight, make sure it's all nice and tidied up and solid so I can put my filler putty it around the seams here. The seams aren't bad on this at all, though. That'll be pretty quick work. And then we'll have it ready to go and ready for final paint, and everything will be ready. So I'll catch up with you again tomorrow night. Thanks for checking it out, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Take care out there, and happy modeling, guys.